Right, so welcome back to high school history. And as promised earlier, we are back with another episode on stress, exam stress, and how to manage exam stress in a healthy manner. So we have with us here.
Hi, I'm Apranta. I will be talking about stress management with you. Yeah.
Okay, so Apranta, yeah, we're all stressed out right now. I mean, I'm stressed as a teacher. I know my students are stressed. If we have children at home who are giving exams, they are
They're
stressed as
stressed.
well. Yes.
But that makes complete sense. It's normal to be stressed. I mean, think about it. You're giving your board exam, and it's been an entire year of board exam, board exam, board exam, and everybody around you is stressed. That comes off. So your parents are stressed, your extended family is stressed, all those uncles, aunties calling you beta, all the best, kitne number hai. They're all stressed for you, right? Your parents, your teachers, your friends, everybody around you seems to be stressed. Of course, you're stressed.
Yeah, and I think that is true not just of the students appearing for the board exams, but anybody who's appearing for exams in this season.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And it seems like you've been working all year to give these exams, and just the hype around exams. So, and stress and anxiety are normal, healthy emotions that protect you in situations that make you feel threatened. So, I mean, of course, you'll be feeling all of those things. It's fine and it's normal. It's great that you're feeling stressed. It powers you. It makes you do things that to meet those threatening situations, so to say.
I think it's more of a survival thing about
Yeah.
living organisms
Yeah.
themselves. That stress, if managed well, can be a very healthy thing. I mean, it can
Yes.
help you either run away from a situation, which you can't do it for an exam, but definitely can help you stand your ground and fight this
Yeah,
stress.
and be there, be present when you are there and focused writing your exam. All of that is necessary to charge your body up and to be prepared.
Right. Something I'm sure that a lot of children ask themselves, a lot of progressive parents also ask themselves, what is the value of examinations? I mean, not just general examinations, but definitely the board examinations. What's the value that one gains out of sitting for such a stressful exam?
See, one, you learn how to study. You might not have learned how to study throughout your other exams or throughout your life, but this now that you know that you have one focus and you have to study, you work on your study skills. Think about it. Like a month ago, did you know as much as you know now? You know so much more because you've been studying, right? And you've learned different strategies, different ways to put it together through these videos and otherwise through your teachers, your friends. You've learned all of these things. And these study skills are going to help you when you get to your next class or to college and to, when you're in a job and you have to like read reports and make sense of data and all of that and, apply things. Exam skills, college has a lot more exams than you think it does, So all of these are skills that prepare you for life, right? You also learn discipline, self-reliance,
I think
regulating
also
yourself.
deferring of instant or deferring of gratification. I think that's
Yeah.
a very important life skill that exam
Yeah.
teaches you. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Deferring of think about it, what builds character? Your ability to keep going despite all of the things around you and being able to say no, I'll do that later, right? And a whole as we grow up we have responsibilities, we have things we must do, and to be able to negotiate that with yourself and come to like a healthy compromise where you do what you need to do and have fun is something that you're building. It doesn't just come from like doesn't fall on you. You learn it through these opportunities that exams provide for you, right? And also coming back from when stuff did work out, when you did do what is the right thing or you didn't study or stuff. So coming back from that is also an opportunity that the exams give you. So it's okay. I mean, stuff goes wrong,
Stuff
things
goes
might
wrong,
not.
yes.
Yeah, I mean that's a fact of life. But
Murphy's law. What will
Murphy's,
go?
yes,
What is likely to go wrong will go
will go
wrong.
wrong. And then you come back from that and you pull yourself up again and you think about all of the things that you're working towards. And you're not just that one thing that went wrong. You're so many things. You're so much bigger of a person than just what went wrong, right? And this is what exams give you an opportunity for. So they're great, actually. They're great for you. They're a way for you to practice all of these skills that you're learning as you grow up. And and assessment gives you a preferred stream, preferred college, whatever, all of those things, right?
Okay, so tell me, Abranta, what is the role of, okay, we'll take that question a little later, but let's say I'm very stressed out right now. I have an exam tomorrow, and I think our class 12 students are going in for their main exams tomorrow, which is English. So I'm very stressed out at this point, and I don't know what to do next. So something to help me deal with this crisis point, if you want to call it,
All right.
and help me tide over this time so that I can, when I go into the examination center tomorrow, I'm feeling slightly more in control.
Okay. Sleep. Sleep on time. Second, through a variety of ways, learn that positive self-talk helps. One, telling yourself that you're prepared and I can do well. I've studied. You've studied way more for this exam than you've studied for any other exam in your life. Think about it. If you've studied like a month in exams or grade 11 exams, how many marks would you have got, right? And you've been studying an entire year for this. So at some level, talking to yourself. So research shows that you say around 300 to 1,000 words to yourself, like on to yourself in a minute. So you're talking to yourself constantly. So let those thoughts in your head, let those things that you're saying be positive things, right? So let those things be like, I can do this, I've got it, I'll figure it out. Along with all of that, you have to have food, you need to have water, you need to have, kya bolte hain? Sleep. Sleep is a very, very important. Sleep on time today. Then have some fun, go out, look around, take a walk in the garden, or chat to people about everything other than exams. Settle yourself, breathe, and then just it's an exam. It's just happening outside of a school that it's just happening in a different school. It's an exam that you're giving, and it's normal, and you can do this. It's a rite of passage. Everybody who's moved on from school has to give these exams, and you will too, and it will go well.
Yeah, I think because class 12 is seen as such a key marker where it's kind of a stepping stone to the next level, I think, which is why I believe that a lot of us, I mean, me included, I think I'm guilty of that, is that I also, as a teacher, I'm sure I add that pressure that, okay, this year is your key year, this is your board year, and you can't goof up, and you've got to study through the year. So we have a lot of such people, not only your teachers, but also I think your parents at home, your neighbors. So, बेटा कैसी पढ़ाई चल रही है? तो कल तो तुम्हारा board exam है. So how do I deal with other people, right? Because I don't have any control over their, what they want to tell me or what they want me to, what they think I should be feeling. I mean, I can't control that. So what can I do to control my response to people around me who are stressed out and are possibly transferring some of that stress onto me?
Okay. See, one exams give you a great opportunity to say thank you, मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ. So you can just be like कि पढ़ाई थी, namaste ji, and go back. But in a lot of ways, doing things that make you feel competent help. So one way to do that is just instead of paying attention to the thoughts or paying attention to the people around you, do work, solve a question, learn a concept, right? But do something specific so that you know that you've ticked it off and you know this now. So, like for example, if you're doing a chemistry question, solve it out with all of the steps, all of the formula, all of the reasoning, and keep it make an exam ready. So a lot of occupations where people go in very, very stressful situations, they do one thing, they do positive self-talk. That's very, very important. Second, they simulate in their heads or on paper what problems they could see, right? And so if you've studied like one chapter and you've seen previous year question papers and you know that these are the kind of questions that turn up, plan and practice those questions in your head or on paper, whatever works for you better. I mean, and systematically plan what you will write in that paper, what you will underline in that paper, what you will, how will you make it the best answer in that situation. So go through those questions in each chapter in your head and on paper, and that way you are also all of that anxiety, all of those people you're away from because you're studying, and you also solved one problem that you could possibly face in the exam. So think about those questions that you feel are important, that have come again and again in the papers, and plan how you'd answer them. Plan how you'd, get it together. So a simulatory exercise in your head, or it works. Research shows that it really helps you. In fact, sample papers in general, most research tells you that sample papers are the best. The more this was a multi-country study. They studied students across many countries, and they saw that the people who did better than others were no other criteria, but they just did the most sample papers. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think it's only the student, it's only the candidate who's appearing for the exam who knows exactly how well prepared they are.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what I believe is that if you have been working steadily, I mean, even if you just, let's say, not studied for the whole year, but kind of started somewhere around end of December, early January, or even early February, I
Yeah.
feel you are prepared. Actually, it is possible
Yeah.
to prepare. And if you have been steady since then, I mean, okay, so your parents are asking you कि बेटा तुम तो बस गए, तुम तो पढ़ नहीं रहे हो, and all that. So tell them that I am studying. You are seeing me studying. I am prepared. Yes, there are certain concepts that I'm still a bit shaky about. I'm trying to strengthen that as well. Because remember, no one else can control what you can do in the exam, is what I feel. So it's your preparation. It's when you go into the examination hall, you are reading the question paper, you are answering the question paper. Your parents are actually completely helpless at this stage. So imagine their stress,
Yeah.
right? That their parenting is also under question.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But
And
that's
they have
not your
really no control.
responsibility.
Yeah, but that's not
your
exactly.
responsibility. Yeah.
That's not your responsibility. So my understanding would be to be responsible for your own actions and be ready to face those consequences
Yeah.
of the action or the inaction. Of course, I think most of you are focused, some more, some less. I mean, we are all different kinds of people, but don't let other people's stress impact you.
Because it's coming from their own fears. They're not coming from genuine concern for you aside. Most of the questions that they're coming up with, the thoughts that they're coming up with, like ma'am said, are coming from their own fears, their own anxieties. So that's not you. So create that boundary in your head. So think about you and what you need to do well in the exam, and take it one at a time.
Yeah.
Don't think about all of the exams, just think about the exam right in front of you and what you need to do for that.
So Apranta ma'am, you just a few minutes ago you talked something about positive visualization. So could you share a few examples, perhaps, how a student in action, how this
Okay.
positive visualization works for them?
So one is before the exam, the way I see it is visualizing the questions that could possibly come and planning how you'd answer them, underlining the keywords, pointing out what the keyword is, what would you emphasize for the examiner to give you marks. During the exam, a positive visualization is, in a sense, calming yourself down. So you breathe in. So imagine the world around you is blue and filled with positive energy. Like close your eyes, imagine that it's filled with good energy, calm energy. So breathe the blue in. Imagine yourself breathing the blue in and removing the red inside of you out of the world. Right? So inhale the blue in and exhale the blue out through your mouth. Always blow out through your mouth. So that's what pregnant women are told. So breathe out through your mouth and let out a whistle if that's what you need, right? And exhale the red out of you, right? And if you get anxious reading the entire paper, just decide in the beginning whether you want to start from the end or from the beginning, right? From the start of the paper or the end of the paper, and just take it one question at a time. A good strategy is to divide the number of marks per question by the amount of time that you have, leaving like 30 minutes in the end for
Reviewing the
paper, and accordingly give that much time to that question. So, for example, if for a 1 marker you've calculated that you only have 2 minutes, if you can't answer it post 2 minutes, let it go. Move to the next question. you will only, in the 30 minutes that you've allotted for review, you can come back and look at it, right? So visualize that you will be doing the paper and the paper will go well because you are prepared and things are fine.
Yes, yes. And I think this brings us to the concept of self-compassion, being kind to oneself.
Yes.
So something on that account.
So when you are, for example, when you're doing sample papers or when you're doing the actual paper, mistakes will happen. You might not know everything, and that's fine. So you have to be, during the sample paper time, you have to be critical of your mistakes. What are the things that you've done wrong? Are you being careless? Are you not reading the question right? Is there a gap in that learning in that chapter? Is there, do you think you needed to present it better? So a lot of this feedback you can get from your teachers about what
Yes.
went wrong in the questions, right? So being critical about your mistakes versus being critical about yourself, right? I'm bad. Versus I did badly at this question, I'll probably figure it out, right? So any mistake is not permanent. This does not stay with you for the rest of your life, right? And if you have a mistake in one question does not mean that you'll make mistake in all the questions, right? This is a belief system that happens when you're being pessimistic, and a whole lot of things around you make you feel that you need to be pessimistic. But the thing is that no mistake is permanent, no mistake is all encompassing or pervasive. Like, it doesn't, one mistake doesn't mean you'll make mistakes all the time. And this too shall pass, it will go away, and you will be able to do the rest of the paper just because, despite not being able to do that one question, right? Also, self-compassion while you're studying, while you're doing the paper. Talk to yourself like you talk to your best friend, or if your mother were talking to you and she wanted you to grow and develop as a person. Because talk to yourself as somebody who cares for you would talk to you. Or you, if your best friend was in such a situation, what would you say to them to make them feel better and help them go on? Talk to yourself in that way. We just have a tendency to criticize ourselves, to think badly of ourselves for the tiny mistakes that we make. And at that time, you are on high alert. It's called vigilance. Basically, you're just like there on alert. If I make a mistake, everything will go wrong. That happens. It's a normal thing. But that's not true. Second, if a mistake happens, you have to talk to yourself calmly and you have to help yourself through this, right? Because you are the only person in that exam room with the paper and you are your own cheerleader there. So you've got to tell yourself, yeah, we can do this. ये नहीं आया, थोड़ी देर में आ जाएगा, दूसरा करते हैं.
Yes, yes. So this is also, as we've kind of oft repeated, that it's also a stressful time for parents. I have seen a lot of students or parents kind of come back to us and say that, we are having these massive fights at home, massive arguments, and obviously we know that it impacts both parties, the student as well as the parent, very, very negatively. So I know a lot of parents also will be watching this video. So I mean, what is the best way to handle the situation where exam stress has led to a conflict within the family? They're fighting that beta tum pad nahi rahe ho and main to itna pad raha hu, you're putting unnecessary stress on me. So what can each party, so what can the student do to diffuse the situation? What can the parent do to diffuse the situation?
All right. One, contracts with each other, right? Specify the amount of time that the child will study and the amount of time that the parent will be there and not be there. Put it in writing so that both of you are clear about exactly how much interaction time you will get with each other and how much the child has to finish and show you. Make it reasonable, make it specific, like this chapter, these questions from this chapter versus this thing, and for today we'll be doing this thing. A basic idea about how much time the child will study, how much time the child will have fun, because that's very, very important, right? And how much time will go for drinking, sleeping, eating, all of those things. And accordingly, have that contract ready so that both of you can refer to it when your anxieties are going up, right? That this is okay. Second, I feel that at some level, asking yourself 2-3 questions before you go into that interaction is, where is this anger coming from? Right? Is it just anger, or is there some anxiety or fear creeping into it? Right? what am I imagining will go wrong if this particular behavior continues? Is that realistic? Or am I imagining worst case scenario when the child has just gotten up to go to loo, right? Also, children, your parents care for you, and therefore that concern is coming out in such a way. So give them a hug the next time this goes this thing, and maybe practice breathing with them. There are lots of breathing exercises that both of you can do together for each other, right? So look into your eyes. Would you like to do it with me?
Sure. Yes.
Right.
So as a demonstration for the
as a
students.
demonstration.
Yeah.
So look into my eyes and hold my hands.
Yeah. Can
Right?
we?
Yeah. All right. So when we first inhale and we count up to 4, so I'll count up to 4. We inhale, hold it in our bodies and count up to 7, right? And then exhale through our mouths while counting up to 8.
Okay.
Right? So I'll count.
Right.
So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Okay.
I'm already feeling very relaxed. Actually, this works.
This does work.
Yes, it does work.
And the thing with relaxation and breathing is like a lot of performers who go on stage do this, like people who are giving concerts for like 20,000, 30,000 people. So like these breathing techniques have a lot of research backing, right? In that sense. But what this does is that you connect to the person in front of you, and also you calm down your own body. And because both of you are calm, that also adds to the whole experience. So see what happens in stress. Your body goes into fight mode or flight mode, or whatever this thing. It goes into, oh my god, emergency, must face this.
There are also certain chemicals being released in the bloodstream.
The chemicals being released in your bloodstream, adrenaline, like lots of things to make you go, yeah. Because what is the brain doing? The brain and the body is preparing to fight a threat. So a lot of extra stuff, so the digestion will slow down. So it needs oxygen to the brain. So your heart will start pumping, right? Oxygen, the blood is taking oxygen to the head. And you take in long breaths and faster breaths so that you're taking in oxygen from the air, right? And your adrenaline will start rushing through the body to prepare you to take on whatever, right? And when you're triggered like that, when you're already in a fight mode, even a slightly wrong comment or a wrong look might make you feel that this is the threat and not the other threats in your head, right? So, but the great thing is that we have something called the frontal lobe, which is here, which has the ability to stop all of this emergency response. So one way that we can do that is by controlling our breath. So the first thing that the brain does is, right? So if we control our breath, and that's completely in our control through like various breathing exercises, through that, we also bring control over our body. The brain-body connection it helps us in getting excited and doing all of these things, but we can also control the body through our brains and bring it back to normal. So these are, and you're all in this together. You're a unit, you're together, and you're all very, very interested in,
And I think it's so important for the family to keep talking to each other, especially in such stressful situations, because I feel if not addressed and not kind of diffused, then it can lead to long-term breakdown in relationships. And this is something that we don't want, right? We don't want child to think that my parents are only interested in how much marks I'm getting, or the parents feel that how hard I work for this child to give them the best, but they don't understand its value and are frittering away what we provide for the child. So each is coming from their own area of fear. Yes. And I think all anger ultimately stems from some kind of fear. Right. So it's so important to keep communication lines open. And my special request to parents, because you are the adults here, you've got more life experience than the children. So to be a little more tolerant of your child's tantrums, because I know when I was a student in class 12, I was extremely stressed out. Those were also the days when stress management wasn't really a buzzword. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, you are stressed, so deal with it on your own. I mean, you had to figure out things yourself. Um, so yes, there was a time just before my exams when I had this huge argument with my mom, and I remember for the rest of the duration of our board exams, we only had essential conversations,
Yeah.
and I regret that time because. I wanted to kind of put my head in her lap when I was back home from the exam. I'm sure my mom wanted to kind of wanted me to come and lie down, put my head down on her lap. But I think both uh, stuck in our fears, in our anger, in our ego. I think. I think that would have been an amazing time to bond with each other as well. But I think I lost that time, and I wouldn't. I'm sharing this because I wouldn't want anyone else to lose this time because we're all here for a finite
Yeah.
period, and there should be no regrets.
Later on that way.
So yes, parents I think would have a larger
So
responsibility
what
here.
would you have wanted it to change? Like what would you have wanted them? What would you have wanted your mother to do? What would you have wanted yourself to do at that time?
I don't know, perhaps just the breathing exercise or just break through my ego and just say, Mama, I need to, will you please come and sit? I want to put my head on your lap.
So you could
gotta
only
let go
realize
of
it.
that.
You could only realize it after you had cooled down.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So cooling off period is key. So both of you take after an argument,
Mhm.
take the time to cool off, but then reach out to each other because you're a team.
Yes.
You are together and your love, the overabundance of love is one of the causes
Causes of these
So
families.
reach
Yes.
into that love, reach into that. You know your child and you know your parent. Reach out to them and just hold on. And sometimes you don't need much. Just go and give a hug, tiny
Yeah,
hug,
yeah.
and then that entire thing will be resolved.
Yes. Yes. Actually, you don't even need words.
Yeah, you don't even need words. And
Right.
it's normal. It's completely
It's
normal to have
completely
those
normal
fights.
to have these fights. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I fully agree with
Yeah.
you. Okay, so let's look at the worst case scenario that I'm not prepared fully for the exam because I've not been studying steadily.
Okay.
So what are these last, or maybe I have been studying regularly, but I feel I don't know anything.
Okay.
So what are these last minute tips that you might have for the students to
Okay.
kind of give them some level of confidence to go in for the exam?
Okay. I would recommend that you first look at your index in the book, right? Check the chapters where you feel that you have problems, right? Then look for questions in previous year question papers which have these chapters, questions related to these chapters. Solve them, write it down and solve them. This is much lesser than reading the chapter, doing all of those things again. So as long as you know what those questions are and how you'd answer them, the chances are those questions will repeat again.
Yes.
And you'll be able to answer them again. So, and as somebody who did this, like I teach psychology, and on the day of my psychology board exam, I had not touched 2 chapters at all. And I remember going, very clear-headed in my board exam. I'm at the board center, I'm 1 hour early, and I look through the book and I'm just like, I know what questions come because my teachers have told me I've seen previous year question papers and I know that these are the questions that come. So I just planned those questions and they turned out and I got a 96. And I had not touched those chapters throughout those
Yes.
the year. And I had told my parents, yeah, I'm studying, full studying. But yeah, it worked out.
It worked. But now that you've said this, this video will remain on the channel for a while. So maybe a month later or 2 months later, somebody might be looking at this video and might say, okay, so last minute study is all right.
No.
I would kind of put a disclaimer there that this is only for the worst case scenario. This is not to take away from the importance of regular study habits that we build over a period of time. So
And
that,
which you will definitely need for all of your exams, right?
Yes.
And you've worked hard, you've put in that amount of work, and now you're just adding, you're preparing for that situation. So it's the context which is important, right? So you have to study throughout, and before the exam, if you're freaking out or stuff is happening in your head, these are ways to control your situation, to take control about something that seems to be out of hand. So you figure out what you need to do right then, make those specific goals, and make short-term goals, like really short-term goals. Like you can make 10-minute goals. Like I'm just going to, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to do this question, then I'm going to do lunch. And then after that, sometimes just I'm going to study till lunch, and then after lunch, I'm going to just study till dinner. That can be a short-term goal. as short as that, and specific in the sense that I'm going to study this chapter, these questions. That helps at this time. Like, if you have, you must have sample papers, you must have like
Yes,
other
yes.
books in front of you which you can use to study, and just tick those questions and do just those questions, and breathe through that and finish as much as you can. Finish what you can is key, and after that, life.
So now that we are into full exam mode, starting tomorrow, the main papers are going to be there. And we know that there are students with certain combinations of subjects where they don't have a long break between two papers. So they might have just a day or 2 days between exams. So what is your tip for the students for these kind of, in between exam days that they have off? What should the student be doing
What should
during
the
those
student
days?
be doing?
Especially when the break is short.
Especially in the break is short, revise things that you know already. So as soon as you finish the first exam, like, I mean, you would have studied you knew that your work, day sheet came out, and you have these many days only for the exam, just like a day in the middle for the exam. So you would have done some amount of stuff before that. On the eve of the next exam, or just the 1.5 days that you might get, there are people who have just like one exam, and on the very next day
they have
you
another
the
exam. Yes.
So on the eve, revise what you already know, right? Don't look at too many things that you don't know, because this is not the time. Revise the things that you know, because the chances are that those things will turn up and you'll be able to answer those questions well, right? And reach out to your teachers if you have doubts on those days, and if you're feeling that it's getting slightly overwhelming, practice those breathing exercises, reach out to your parents, talk to people about it, and do what you know very, very well all over again. That is what I would recommend, because this is not the time for you to learn new things. This is the time for you to focus on what you already know and strengthen that. And you already know it, so you're not tapping into new conceptual learning. You're strengthening your base.
Yes.
And having a strengthened base and knowing that you know this will propel you through the exam in a whole lot of ways.
Yes. Now tell me, how often should a student take a break while they're studying?
Okay. So I recommend. See, most people can study, with full concentration for up to 40 minutes, right? But once those 40 minutes are over, you can take a 5-minute break. It's not like a 10-minute break. So you have 40-minute session, 5-minute break, 40-minute session, 5-minute break, and then another 40-minute session, and you have you can take a half an hour break and go and come back. So in a 5-minute break, you get up from the room and you walk around, because changing scenery makes a difference. Do not call a friend. Do not listen to music. Don't look at TV at this time. Just change your body.
And what about social media?
Social media, oh God. Phones are the worst. This, I think I should have begun the video by saying this. Deposit your phone in a locker which you don't know the combination of before you begin studying. Because even like studies show that even having the phone in the room is a distraction. Even if it's switched off and all of those things, even that is a distraction. It's much better if it's out of your purview in that sense. So no social media.
Maybe if your parents are at work, they can take your phone away with them at work. Because I think even if it's at home,
it's a temptation.
It's a temptation.
It's a temptation. And it's completely cool to be tempted. Everybody is tempted. I'd rather do so many other things than study for an exam, especially when it's compulsory and all of those things. So we totally get it. Every person on the planet gets that you'll be tempted, because yes, everybody is tempted. Yeah. So in those 5-minute breaks, don't do anything which will engage your senses. Do something like drinking water, eating something quickly, and walking around a little, going out of the room, all of that. And then put an alarm for 5 minutes. So as soon as the alarm rings, come back and begin studying again. It's very important to be specific that what you'll cover in those 40 minutes, so that you know exactly what you've done and what you need to do next. Right? So plan in advance for those 40-minute sessions, right? And do them. So 40, 5 minutes break, 40, 5 minutes break, 40. And then the half an hour break, you can take you can eat things, you can see something, but put an alarm, especially if you want to go back to study. So,
yes.
Especially if you want to go back.
Yes. Now, I was just thinking, okay, how will the student put the alarm? The phone is with the parents.
Clocks.
I was just thinking that what if we just told the parents to take the SIM away? You still have a functional phone in the sense
yeah.
that you can set an alarm.
But what about
But yeah,
internet
the games.
access?
Yeah. Yes,
Internet
you're right. So I think the phone should go to the
Phone should
office
go, yeah.
with the
So
parents.
a clock with an alarm. This might help you during exams. They can take a clock into the center, right? Or they can't.
I guess they can, but nothing too big.
Nothing
But
big.
if you have a watch which
Yeah,
where an
which
alarm can
has-
be set, I think a lot of the students do have access to such watches where you can set the alarm in the watch itself. So yeah,
So
please,
that's great.
yeah.
Invest in one.
Yes,
It'll
I
help
think
you.
mobile phone and even the computer perhaps.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that can be
Anything.
put under lock and key or whatever. And but I suppose once in a day they could access their social media
I'm a
accounts.
social media. You see, it's recommended that during exam time you talk to your friends about everything other than exams because everybody is anxious and that like sort of comes into your life. So, I mean, talking to teachers about questions that you don't know is a good idea. It's a much better idea to turn to them if you have a question that you don't know versus your friends. I would recommend that social media with its comparisons, its people like all the happy people, probably not a good idea.
Everyone else is having a better time than I am.
Yeah. So I mean, I would like go out, play, talk to people about everything other than exams. You know, just do some kind of physical activity. It gets the chemicals in your body going. It makes you more alert. It makes your brain more alert. Because a whole lot of lethargy from constantly studying, it dulls your brain. So the energy that you use while you're playing or just running around or doing something that helps a whole lot.
So this is very important. So you're saying that exercise is key and perhaps even mandatory during exam time.
Yeah.
Whether you are into regular exercising or not, but definitely during exams,
Huh.
even a walk.
A walk is great. Like smell the air, look at spend time with your pet if you have one, right? That is also great. The endorphin rush kind of
Yes,
this thing.
yes. So tell me something about food and water, food and drink.
Okay, water. So I would recommend that you lay off the junk food. I'm so sorry, but after exam, please have like a little nice pizza party or something or the other. But like junk food, especially sodas and whatever is fried and cheesy and all of that. All of these things make you sluggish. Stop your brain from performing at its peak.
It might have a quick sugar boost in the blood, but the slump is worse. Actually.
Exactly. So I would recommend that fruits, which have minerals, antioxidants, vitamins, and waters. Right?
A lot of great fruits available this
Yeah,
season. I mean, if you
exactly.
look at strawberries and kiwis and grapes, oranges, kinos, if that suits your fancy. I hate kino myself, but I love oranges.
Oh my god, I hate quinoa too. Yeah. So yeah, I mean all of those things. Eat healthy. Eat whatever is healthy. Eat in smaller quantities, right? And have multiple meals, but have smaller quantities and drink lots of water and sleep on time. Sleep on time.
So, what's the recommended sleep time?
Look at your own average that you sleep, but like 7 to 8 hours.
I think we're all sleep deprived. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
all
sleep deprived people.
But like research shows 7 to 8 hours.
7 to 8 hours is the heaviest.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I hope you can manage, but like more than 6, definitely. Less than 6 is not good for you at all. So, and especially right before an exam, you need to have a good night's sleep. It's extremely helpful in memory consolidation. So what it does is all of the memories, whatever you've studied, because you have that sleep time, your brain makes those connections for you, puts it together. So you'll remember better if you've slept versus if you've not. So I mean, it's always better to sleep before an exam. I can't say this enough.
Yeah, so I think if you need to enter the hall at 10 o'clock, because that's when they open their gates, which means I should definitely be outside my center by 9:30.
Yes.
Which means I would have left home at least an hour and a half before that. So that would be 8 o'clock you're leaving home. One takes 1 hour to get ready in the morning, so that would be 7 you're waking up. So a reasonable time to go to sleep would be latest by 11:30.
Yeah.
Actually, the night before the exam.
10:30
Actually,
is the
10:30 is you lie down because it takes a while for sleep to come as well.
Yeah. And you
So-
can practice breathing. You can practice all of these things. If you want, people want that tactic. You can sleep with your parent, right?
Yes, if
That
if that
is just
helps.
that helps. That if you, my mom was a very chatty Cathy, so I would not have done that. But people who are quiet and who are calming around you, if you want to sleep with them, that's also great, right? So and it's, especially if you tend to like this thing, it's better to shorten the waiting time near the center. I mean, reach in time so that you don't get stuck in jams, but shorten the waiting time. And in front of the wall, don't talk to people. Be in your zone. Like, have some ritual in your head, like something that you eat in the morning or whatever, and practice your breathing, and just go in and give the exam. Smile a lot, but don't engage. Don't engage at all with
And
other
if someone tells you, "Acha, have you studied this?" Because that was
just
my
take an about turn and be like, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
And people understand that, right? At this stage, they understand that some people have different methods, so don't engage.
Yeah, and don't worry about who has studied how much. We all have our own way and pace of studying. I think that
Yes,
is
especially those
essential.
people who take extra sheets. Those people are like
They're most likely writing a lot of stuff which is not required.
yes, yes. A ma'am goes for the examination checking, she knows, right? And think of it as a conspiracy. This is a conspiracy.
I think because there are some people who do play these mind games. There are all kinds of people in the world. Because I used to have a bunch of people in my class who would suddenly give me a ring. These were all, was pre-mobile days, so landline pe call aa gaya. And of course, my calls were monitored by my mother. She wouldn't let just anyone reach out to me. But I had a closer gang of friends. So, auntie, बहुत urgent है, कुछ पूछना है. So okay. And acha, I have studied this. So have you studied that? So it took me a while to figure out that they're playing mind games with me. To kind of throw me off my study schedule. Oh, so and so has done that much. I've fallen behind, so I will stress about it for the next half an hour, which I could have otherwise used to strengthen my concepts.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't worry and don't care. In fact, I would suggest you don't go playing those mind games with your friends, because that's really not such a nice thing to do.
And you'd usually play those mind games if you're feeling insecure. So it's better idea to make yourself feel secure in your knowledge versus putting out, because there's so much negative energy that you're sending out into the world, and it's not good for you in the long run.
In the long run, what goes around comes around. We don't want that, right? So so no questions have come in so far, no issues. But those of you who are watching now or watching later, if there are questions which do come up on stress management, how to cope, please feel free to comment in the comment box below. We will try and reach out to you as soon as we can. Maybe we'll have shorter videos answering your specific questions. We can do that. Any parting thoughts, Apranta ma'am?
I would like more breathing exercises. I would like to tell you. So we've talked about the 4-7-8 breathing, where you inhale, hold for 7, exhale for 8 through your mouth, always through your mouth, because that's a good way to get it all into you, right? Then the visualization. So if you're in an exam, close your eyes, and when you close your eyes, you see red because of the light and all those things, right? So imagine that to be your anxiety inside of you, right? And imagine that the world around you is blue, filled with calming energy, right? So take in the blue through your nose, inhale, and exhale the red out from your mouth. The world around you will become slightly purple, and that will dissipate. Then take in more blue and exhale the red out. Keep doing this.
Actually, it has a visual thing as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So it fills your body with the blue light, and then you're calm, and then you're doing stuff. There's another breathing technique where it's called belly breathing. So you put your hand on your belly, right?
I don't think we're fitting into the camera to show them that. Maybe we could do this.
Put your hand on the belly, okay? And take in a deep breath in such a way that only your belly moves and not your chest. So it's reaching, the diaphragm is pulling it down, and then when you exhale, only your belly moves. So the point of this breathing technique is your belly moving, right? Because that's deep breathing, and that is more calming than shallow surface breathing.
I think the lungs are able to take in more air.
Yeah, they take in more air.
So let's do that.
So inhale and exhale. So your hand should go in the hand should move. That's the
Yeah.
plan. So keep doing that. A lot of like music people practice this
Yes,
to
yes.
build their
To lung strength, yes.
lung strength. So it's all good. So whatever works for you, look at like try out these strategies. Whatever works for you, you have to keep doing them. You have to do. You can't do 4 breaths and be like, "Nahi ho raha, kuch
Yeah,
bhi."
yeah.
Okay, you have to do it.
Give it at least 5 minutes of
Yeah.
5 to 7 minutes of breathing.
Yeah. The rule of thumb: do it 15 times, right?
15 rounds. Huh?
15 rounds. Do 15 rounds, and after that, if it doesn't work, then you try a different strategy.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And it will work because this is a fundamental connection between your brain and your body. And this is that's what yogis do, right?
That's what
yeah.
yogis
So people have been doing it for centuries. I'm not the only one telling you this, right? So, and so the breathing exercises is what I would recommend that you pay attention to. And in general, remember that if you're studying and you have less amount of time, practice giving an exam, right? Versus just studying. Because exam skills are not study skills, right? So they're two different things. So, and you are going to be tested on your ability to give an exam. So practice your questions, practice your sample papers, and keep doing that. All right.
Okay, so we do have one question, which is, I think, a very common question among students that do we have any tips on how to memorize things better? So some mnemonics, if we could share.
All right. So there are different ways to plan this. So something mnemonic is a memory strategy. All right. So when you're thinking about a question, one way to remember things is to first underline all of the keywords, and in your head when you're going through the question, find a path from the first keyword to the second keyword to the third keyword to the fourth keyword and the fifth keyword. So when you know that path, you'll be able to put those keywords together and to be able to write the full answer.
So I think this kind of covers what we had done in our previous video about, so as you're studying, make your margin notes as flow charts.
Yes.
So you kind of, it automatically, I think it also helps it visually because
Yes.
I know for me it has worked. When I close my eyes, I can kind of visually see those points, one
Yeah.
flowing to the next.
Hanji.
And I think that's a very powerful way of, strengthening your memory about, certain tough concepts.
Yes. And deeper processing. So understand the meaning of the words that you're trying to remember, like completely. If you understand how the entire answer is connected to itself, you will be able to remember it better, right?
Yeah.
One good way, especially with like science and maths, is to have the formulas on flashcards. That you can practice before you enter the exam room and while you're doing it, so that you have like one picture of that formula right in front of you, which you can just like access when you need to, right? When you were writing the exam and you got your sheet, so you can make the last page the rough sheet.
Yes.
And plan because that's when your brain is like really fresh. So you can write down the question number and like a basic keyword for all of those things, so that you can go back to it later and also add things to it.
Yeah,
Might not remember.
You could do
everything
this
at that time.
as the moment your 15 minutes of reading are up and your the exam room supervisor tells you that you can start writing. So I think you can use the first 5 to 7 minutes, I think, to locate those. You've already read the question paper for 15 minutes, so you know which ones your shorts. Don't worry about those. But those which are a little shaky, you can kind of quickly make some notes on that last sheet, which can be used as, and you can mention on the top that this is a rough work. Remember, you will not be given an extra sheet for rough work, so don't ask the invigilators for a rough sheet. They can't give you because CBSE does not allow that. But in your booklet that you are given, you can use. Or alternately, you can make cut out a margin, draw out a margin on the right hand side of the paper and quickly make your notes.
Just write rough on top and people understand.
Yes, people understand that. So when we go for evaluations, we don't hold that against a student. I mean,
at all.
which is perfectly fine. And this kind of ties in also with what we shared earlier about, with the longer answers, if you have a flow chart somewhere alongside the answer, even if your answer is less than perfect, you tend to score better in those marks because the examiner has figured out that you know
the answer. Also, something helps is teaching that answer to somebody. So if sometimes in the walls, but planning how you will present the answer by teaching it to people, because you will then put it in systematically because you're trying to make somebody understand the entire concept, right? So teaching somebody or something, room, like stick a picture of somebody on the wall and teach that person if you don't have people around you, right? So teaching is a great way to memorize stuff. mnemonics, planning the keywords, making those graphic diagrams of what the answer could be, where we move from one to the other, processing it on a deeper level, like understanding the entire meaning of what you're writing down and how all the points are connected, are great ways to memorize stuff.
Yeah. So I hope, Grace, we've answered your question.
Yeah.
Right. I think we're running out of time. I had first planned this as more as a half an hour thing, but we are closing in on an hour. So if there are no more questions, I think we can start winding down. So first, rule of thumb: sleep well.
Yes.
Second, eat well. Eat well doesn't mean stuff yourself.
Eat healthy.
Eat healthy. And perhaps, yes, and definitely, I was having a discussion with somebody just a few moments before we started our live stream about off-season fruits and vegetables. So I would always recommend in-season fruits and vegetables. And this is, I think, the best time of the year in India, where you get a lot of lovely fruits and yummy vegetables. So get your mum or whoever else prepares the meals at home to make something yummy. But fresh, don't try to go in for leftovers.
And
not a good idea.
Food is
so try and avoiding all your top ramens and Maggies and all the pre-prepared pastas. I mean, pasta on its own, I think freshly cooked pasta is a very healthy, filling food. So eat rotis and sabzis and dals, non-vegetarian food if your family is non-vegetarian. Drink lots of fluids. Water. If you're going into juices, avoid the packaged juices. Freshly squeezed juice is something that we all would recommend. Because again, packaged juices have added sugar. Even if they say no added sugar,
they do add sugar. No added sugar is like a fancy way of saying we haven't added stuff after we
packaged it. Yes.
Sometimes that's also
So. And I think at least 2 liters of fluids in a day. I mean, even if you're having a glass of milk,
soup,
milk, soup, milk, juices, water. Keep a bottle of water handy with you as you're sitting in your study place, so that you don't unnecessarily get up. During the non-break.
Reduce your times when you get up.
Yes, definitely. So we've covered food, we've covered drink, and we've covered exercise. Yes, exercise. At least I would recommend twice in a day. Once in the morning and once in the evening, on the days you don't have an exam.
On the days you have an exam, go out for like half an hour minimum.
And if you have a pet, great, take it out for a walk. I mean, unless it's a fish. So, and laugh, you shouldn't forget to laugh, crack a few jokes, and just have some aimless conversation with your parents, something which is not related to exams at all. Right? If you have a sibling, try teasing them a bit. That should be fun.
Pull their hair.
But don't start beating each other.
No,
I mean, but if that helps you de-stress, knock yourselves out. We are nobody to judge, right? So we'll then take your leave. And if you have any more questions that occur to you after we've stopped the live stream, please feel free to put it in the comment section. We'll get back to it as soon as we can. So all the best for tomorrow's exam and all the subsequent exams. Till the next time. Bye-bye.
You do well.